Hey, what's up, and welcome to Bits and Bytes, episode number 5. Today is February 8th, 2015, and I am your host, Jeff Weisbein. Buckle up, because today I'm going full-on founder. In this episode, I'll be discussing the past week at Kaya and sharing some experiences that I've had. I hope it'll be helpful to at least one person out there, or more, but we'll see what happens. But first, I want to go over a couple things that I learned from installing Kaya on Best Techie. I'm doing this because I want to share with you guys the kind of power you can get from Kaya just by having it installed on your publication, on your website. And I think it'll be useful to kind of see like the kind of insights I'm able to pull from it firsthand. So this is from the brand new update to Kaya that we just pushed out last week. And in fact, there is an update coming this week, which I'll talk about more in a second. But first, there are three main things that I want to talk about in terms of what I learned from having Kaya on BT. First of all, Kaya's personalized recommendations on Best Techie have approximately, get this, increased website traffic by 10%. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, that's more than good, honestly. That means that there's 10% more or additional traffic from visitors who are on BT, who are viewing a piece of content. And then what happens is with Kaya, when it recommended another piece of content to them, they clicked it and then they went to something else. So that's really, really good. I mean, publishers, I think, would be, obviously hugely benefited from that. A 10% increase in traffic, especially depending on how much traffic a site has, is a lot. Number 2, according to Kaya, this is an actual insight that I got from Kaya for Best Techie, which we're going to be using this information soon to start, creating new content. But listen to this. According to Kaya, 8 of the top 25 most engaged articles on BT were either how-tos or reviews. That's super good information to have. So now what I can do is take this information and I can say to my writers to be like, we need to create more quality how-to articles and start reviewing some more products, because clearly that's what people are really engaging with on BT, among other things. Obviously, one of the other things that I realized recently was because of Kaya, it also looks like rumor-related posts are performing well in terms of engagement. So that's really good to see. And the last thing I wanted to point out was just because of Kaya, what we've been able to do is, in the past week alone, just based on, looking at Kaya every day and then, gearing our content towards what Kaya is telling us to, we've had traffic, visits and page views up over 15% in the past week. That's really good. Now I know I'm kind of like tooting my own horn here. Obviously Kaya's my product, so I'm like going to promote it. But like, my point is, give it a shot. If you let it run on your site, I guarantee you'll get useful information and insights out of it. It's going to take a little bit of time to build up that information database, but once you get it on there and it's running, and you'll see results in terms of, what type of content to focus on. You'll get, if you promote the shout button, which we plan to help you with. By the way, we'll be doing our own promotions and things like that to publicize the shout button, but we have to get it on sites first. So if you promote that shout button, what's going to happen is you'll get better demographic information from your audience. You'll get email addresses, which you can build mailing lists and things like that, and a whole bunch of other really useful information out of Kaya. Now, I mentioned just a minute ago about an update that's coming this week. This update, when I say cutting edge, just doesn't describe the type of techniques we're using to make this feature work. It's more like bleeding edge. I mean, really, the techniques we're using are so new, and really haven't been tested too much, aside from within Kaya that we know of. It's going to humanize analytics. It's going to make them so anyone can look at our dashboard and be like, people like Angry Birds, they're really engaging with it. Or the iPhone is getting a huge amount of engagement. iPhone posts, obviously, or the Blacklist is outperforming NBC's new show in terms of engagement on our site. You know, you'll be able to get so much information out of this. It'll be crazy. I guarantee it. So just give it a shot. If you want to email me, my email obviously is jeff@getkaya.com. You can shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to get you signed up for free to test it out. Now, enough of me pitching my own product. Let's talk about there's two other things to this podcast today that I want to do. And they're both related to founder, CEO, executive, or just biz dev or, what have you, type of stuff. Everyday business stuff that affects people who are running companies or working at a startup or whatever. And this has to do with pitches. Now, I just pitched you a product, Kaya, mine, and I obviously pitched it to other people as well. In fact, recently, this past week, I had a pitch. And I was super excited about it. I thought it went really well. So I started the call talking to the publisher. Everything's going great. In terms of my pitch, at least, I think I'm nailing it. I'm hitting all my points that I want to hit. And then we get to the part where the publisher goes either yes or no, right? They didn't bite. Now, they weren't completely against the idea of it, but the reason they gave me that they weren't interested was one I honestly didn't consider up until it was said to me. And this was the reason. They're currently focusing their efforts on other things, other initiatives, like building their social profiles, for example. Now, I'm not going to lie about this. I was it bugged me a little bit for a while. Like, why can you not at least try the product? I'm giving it to you for free, essentially, right now, to try it. There's really no risk to you here. And it bugged me, and it bugged me. And then finally, the more I thought about it, I then realized something. It's likely that the reason that they just don't want to even try it is due to resources. And when I say resources, I mean lack thereof. People and companies and publishers for that matter, they just don't always have the time or the manpower or the money to try new stuff, to get people to try it, to be willing to try it. They just don't have enough time in their day. And trust me, I've been there. I mean, running Best Techie, I've been there. Just people want me to try something. I'm like, I don't know. It's not really that interesting to me. I've been there, so I get that. I mean, I from the other side of it, it's like, yeah, no big deal. Like, but when you're pitching that product that you want so much that for them to try it hurts. And then it's like, it's free. I'm giving it to you. You can't even try it. And it's like, sorry, man. I just can't. Like, A, it doesn't align with what we're trying to do right now. But B, even if I wanted to, I don't have the manpower to get it, to install it, blah, blah, blah. To get it up and running, to test it, to make sure it's working, to do this, do that. It takes time to test new products. And that's something I really didn't think about too much. But it's true. It does take time. I take that for granted sometimes. I love playing with new software. So to me, it's like no brainer. Like, oh yeah, I'll test it. If Kaya came to me and was like, or another analytics platform, it wasn't me who was building it. If someone else built the same exact product and came to me, I would sign up. That's cool. I'll try it. Sure, I'll give it a shot. But that's me. Not everyone's like that. And sometimes I forget that. Now, and then especially, if they have their priorities set on other things at, a particular point in time when you hit them, sometimes they're true. It's true. Sometimes it's just about timing. And yeah, so this revelation, to if you want to call it that, is something I need to think about going forward. How can we, and this goes to, if you run a company, same question you should be asking, how can you lower the barrier to try and get people to try your product? What can you do to make it so easy that they just can't say no? Making it free clearly isn't enough. There has to be more to do it, to get them to sign up. You can have the best product in the world, but if it's impossible to install, maybe they won't do it. And maybe that's what we have to figure out. We have some ideas in terms of implementing Kaya to make it simpler that we want to work on. The question is now, do we try and get some people signed up before we do that? Or should we just implement it, get it out of the way, and be like, all right, we did it. Now it's really easy to set up. Of course, it'll cost some more money, but will it be worth it in the end? I believe in the product. I think it's great. We'll have to see. Because remember, with Kaya, we built this great product. At least I think it's great. People who have looked at it think it's really cool. Now we just have to get people to actually install it. The idea behind it is we want to make a publisher's life simpler. We want to give them we want to do all the hard work for them, essentially. Analyzing all that stuff, all that data. Telling them, all right, here's what content's performing best. Here's in-depth demographics with user profiles and email addresses. You can do a whole bunch of cool stuff with all this stuff. Figure out what your content strategy is. Build emailing lists. You name it. Get advertisers. I mean, it's like a full package. You have to just see it as that if you look at it in that way, if you look at it like me, and that's your job as a founder, right? My job is to get people to see it the way I see it. If they don't, then I'm not doing a good job, or I have to rethink the way I explain things to people so that way they do get it. Something to think about. So next time you do a pitch, think about these things. Maybe you should be thinking about it right now, but even before you do your next pitch, and be like, let me redo my pitch a little bit so I can address these issues, potential issues at least. That's what I'll be doing, starting either later tonight or tomorrow. Figuring this out. Figuring out how we can lower this barrier for people. Figuring out, am I explaining it to the best of my ability? How can we make it get through that Kaya does this? And to get the people signed up. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, this is, how do I say, I'll just jump into it because I'm not really sure how else to explain it. But basically, something else happened this week at Kaya. Again, I'm talking about this stuff from a founder's perspective where it's I'm sharing with you my experiences with the hope that, it feels good to kind of get this stuff off my chest, and I like talking about it because I think it, but more importantly, because I think it will help someone else. So if you're listening, this could help you. Maybe it's not a direct, maybe it's not directly helping you, but these situations in business and life will, my experiences, hopefully will help you in some way. So just, bear with me here. So we got this email. Obviously, here's the thing. Sometimes people can be mean, right? I mean, shocker alert, right? There are mean people in this world. Now, I'm not going to provide specific details because they really aren't that important when it comes to the lesson I want to share here. Now, but in order to share this lesson, I have to give a little bit of a backstory. So here's a brief backstory. My colleague, Chris, has been sending out emails along with myself to potential customers, right? As you would expect, we have reworked this email more times than I care to count. And yes, we try and personalize each and every one of them as best as we can to the best of our ability, based on the information that we have. Now, Chris got a reply from someone. He read it, and then he got upset. As you can imagine, the reply it wasn't the nicest reply. Now, by the time I heard about this from Chris, he had actually already sent a reply to the email, and honestly, it was an excellent reply, in my opinion. Like, he said all the right things in reply to this email. But now, it's like, as a founder to your employee, what do you do then? Like, so what do you do when this happens? And that's what I want to share. So here's what I did, right? The first thing I did as a founder, was hear what Chris had to say about it. And I just let him vent, because clearly it upset him a little bit. There's that saying, it's business, it's not personal, right? But when it's when you're the one getting that reply, when you're on the receiving end of stuff like that, it sucks. No one likes that. So after he told me what happened, right, I took a look at the email myself, and I'm sitting there and I'm reading it, and then Chris goes to me, he says, and I'm paraphrasing here, he says, "It's mean, but like, they have some good points." And I'm like sitting here like reading it, I'm like processing what he's saying, and then I realized what he said, and then I kind of smiled, and then it goes on to say, "If it's okay with you, I'd like to completely revamp our initial outreach email." And that really made me smile for a few reasons. The first is because despite it upsetting him, he didn't let it cloud his judgment on the actual contents of the email, which is amazing. Like, sometimes people get like a mean email or like a mean message from someone, or just someone says something really mean to them, and they like, no matter, it could have been like the most important feedback of their life, but the person just was real, butt about saying it. So no matter what they said, even if it was really important, it was like, they don't care. Like, it's completely the most dumb thing to that person. So I was really happy to see that Chris, despite it being not the nicest email, he didn't let that cloud his judgment. Second thing, he was right. It wasn't the nicest email, yes, but it did have some good points on things we could actually do to improve going forward, right? So that was also really good. He noticed that. And then the third was the initiative that he took, right? On his part, to fix this problem so that way we wouldn't have it anymore. He went out of his way to obviously that's why I hired him, but like, I didn't have to say, "Hey Chris, you know what? These are great points. It's really mean. It's a mean email, yeah, but like, let's redo the email." And he didn't give me any problem. In fact, I didn't have to say any of that. That's the point. Within the next hour or so, we had a completely revamped, rethought approach to our initial outreach email. And you know what? It's better. At least I think it's better. Now we'll have to see if it leads to more positive responses. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can learn just in a week running a startup. And that's why I do this podcast. Yeah, we talk tech news sometimes. Yeah, we, share cool links to websites that are new and apps and things like that. And I like to share that stuff. And I love to analyze what people are saying about Apple and Google and all that stuff. But sometimes you just have to focus on business and like experiences that you've had in the past week. And that's why I like to do this every week, because every week's always a little different, especially when you're running a startup. So that was this week. Anyway, I just want to wrap it up here. So I want to appreciate everyone who subscribed so far. We've had a really, really pretty good response to this podcast. So if you like it, please rate it in iTunes, share it, all that good stuff. And of course, if you want to contact me, my email is jeff@getkaya.com or jeff@besttechy.com. Either will work. My Twitter handle is @Jeff Weisbein. And I look forward to reading your tweets, emailing with you if you have any thoughts or questions, or you want to test out Kaya. And lastly, remember, take care of your computer.